This is mostly nonsense
This is mostly nonsense.
with Nick and this other guy. The docket
It's
was
good. It was good. It was
good. We got Tara. Oh, we got Liberation Day.
Liberation.
Happy Liberation Day.
Oh, thank you. I feel very liberated.
Good. Me too.
Nice.
You want to say anything about Liberation Day, Ryan?
It was a fucking shit show.
Was it?
Yeah.
They tariffed the island with mostly penguins.
Yeah.
What island is that?
It was crazy. He was talking some crazy stuff up there. I don't know what the island was called.
I didn't actually watch the whole thing. What kind of crazy things did he say? I saw the chart.
Well, it's just the usual rhetoric, you know what I mean? Like, we've been so abused over time.
By those penguins.
Yeah, literally. We've been so abused, and, you know, we've given so much and all this sort of nonsense. It's like, okay. It's crazy how it's worked so effectively in the States. This idea, this idea that they're a victim, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny too because the right wing over there is always talking about how the left is all they're all saying that they're a victim. What's that word called?
Victimization.
Yeah, they always say that they're victims, and they're always complaining about being victims. And yet, as soon as Trump's in office and talking about how the U.S. is the victim, all of a sudden it's okay to be the victim.
Ryan, I'm ignorant, so I'm going to make a case.
Let's hear it.
You tell me why I'm wrong. If I'm the USA and I provide security, and I feel like my NATO partners aren't putting up their fair share, is it wrong for me to say that I'm being taken advantage of?
No, but is that what has happened?
Hasn't it?
How so?
I think Canada's not even at our 2% NATO target.
So, if we are not matching the targets there, does that make it?
Those targets aren't a requirement,
Does that
by the way.
give more or less power to the U.S.?
Oh, it gives more power.
Yeah.
Oh, good
so
point. Yeah.
Our shirking of the expectations has given them more power. Because I would agree with that. The UK is a great example of that as well.
Why?
Because they, for a very long time, said they were going to increase their military spending, and they never did.
Yeah.
Right? And so you could say, yeah, okay, the expectation is larger for the U.S. there's more expectation on the U.S. to provide military intervention and this sort of thing. But at the same time, it's given them way more power globally, right? Because far fewer countries have an active military, and so they need to rely on the states.
Okay.
Right? So maybe economically, it's not like the greatest for the states, but militarily, when it comes to power, geopolitically, it's way more advantageous in a lot of ways.
Okay, fair.
Right.
Do you think it's wrong if I was a country giving so much to, and I felt like other countries who were on my team weren't giving as much as I was giving? Although I am the number one economy, so like,
it also
I'm always
depends.
gonna
Like,
be able to give
like
more.
what did the other governments, the U.S. governments and the other presidents, what was their expectation of the allies? Were they saying increase your military spending, or did they actually mean it?
I think what?
Like when they had their diplomats over talking to other countries, what was the rhetoric being said by the diplomats? Was it something that, okay, you haven't met it yet, but that's okay? Or was it, here, you haven't met it, we would really like you to meet it?
I think,
because there's a difference depending on the way they were talking about it. I don't know how they were talking about it.
Yeah, I think that after the war in Ukraine, I think before the war in Ukraine, it's just like, okay, like, fine. But then after the war in Ukraine, I think it kind of shifted to like, okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That makes sense.
We still haven't met our 2% target.
Yeah.
We should probably aim for higher than 2% TBH.
I was listening to this guy talk about it. He was some general in the UK, and he said the problem is that because things are allocated already, and they've been allocated in certain ways already for such a long time, it's difficult shifting things away without like damaging other areas of the government. Right, so it takes a while to reach the 2%. It's not like a 1-year change. They can't make the change in 1 year.
Why not?
Because where are you going to get that money?
You just cut something.
I know, but what are you going to cut?
Well, I don't know.
And when you do cut something, what is in place to not cause damages in that area, right? It takes longer than just a year.
I suppose you could also just run a deficit.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we could also just do like a conscription, just like a lottery. I wouldn't be against
Is the
it.
2%
I'd be
do the soldiers
conscripted, bro.
count
Get a whole-
towards the 2% because of their pay? Like what is counted in that 2%?
I naively think it's all expenses related to military.
I would probably agree that that's probably what it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was more complicated than that.
Maybe.
Because I don't know. Because it's like I guess fuel costs would count, military.
Like equipment.
Equipment would count, personnel.
Yeah.
What about people that are like the janitor of the base in Canada?
I think they don't have. I don't know how the fuck that works.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like the actual people in the army took care of their own cleaning and
Probably.
shit.
You're probably right about that. I always thought it'd be funny if you had like the Area 51 janitor. They just find some guy and he cleans the place up once a week.
This is George, and he's just here to mop up.
He's got the security pass for Area 51, but he just has the mop. That's his job.
That's hilarious.
That'd be a pretty sick job, man.
Yeah, it might disappear you.
Yeah, they might just. Yep. Yeah.
We just hire like 150,000 janitors, like the most spotless bases in NATO, and that's how we get our military spending up. That's funny.
That'd be jokes, man. That'd be hilarious. Okay, yeah, but tariffs. We're talking about Liberation Day.
Yo, Syria has 37% tariffs. Syria.
What is it on though? On just everything?
I think it's on everything.
What was? How did they? Because you were saying that. You're saying that CBC was doing the
CBC.
The calculation for it, right?
Yeah, like I don't remember the exact way they calculated it, but I'm pretty sure it's not like. I think they just took the deficit they had and did some math just with the deficit. I don't think it actually looked at like actual any trade barriers or anything. I think it's just they took the deficit and then they ran math on the deficit. They're like, yeah.
Was it you that was telling me that they just included any money sent to a country, even if it was aid, and consider that as a part of the,
I said that, but like I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I said that to you at one point because the reason I think maybe that was the case is because like how the fuck does Syria have a 37% tariff?
Yeah.
Like maybe they were selling stuff. Like no, they must have had a like how does that even happen? Like they had a deficit
crazy.
with Syria? I don't think so.
Yeah, it seems crazy. And I heard that they put a tariff on Afghanistan.
Did they?
Yeah.
What percent tariff is on Afghanistan?
I don't know. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Supposedly it was 8 when they were doing the thing.
I mean, there's a 10% tariff worldwide.
Yeah.
So, so like every country, almost every country. I don't know if Russia has 10% tariff, but almost every country has a 10% tariff. But like, so does Afghanistan have the 10%? Or do they have more?
I don't know. Probably the 10%. I bet it's just the 10%.
Really? That'd be crazy if they only had a.
Unless they already had tariffs in place. Would it be 10% on top of the tariffs they already had in place?
I don't know, actually.
Supposedly it was 8 pages of countries being tariffed.
Do you think China is more mad that they have the big tariffs or that Taiwan was labeled as a different country? That's something to think about.
I think...
Because Taiwan was its own thingy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, you know, there's only one government of China. Like, they think that Taiwan is part of that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. You asked me about this earlier today as well. I don't know.
I think that was the only win in Liberation Day. I'm like, oh shit, Taiwan, oh, cool.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I have no idea, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they're pissed off just because Taiwan's been in the news because of the tariffs now.
Taiwan is doing like some military drills because China was like circling them with some ships.
Well, Yahoo Finance there was a thing on Yahoo Finance where the Taiwanese, I don't know, prime minister or president was talking about something. I can't remember what it was because we were working on the school stuff, so I didn't get to read the article. But China maybe would be angry just because of the way that it's put Taiwan sort of on the news, front and center. You can't say that they're not considered their own entity if the U.S. is considering them their own entity, right?
Yeah, true. It looks like Afghanistan just got the 10% tariffs.
Okay, that makes sense. More than that would be crazy. What did they put on Taiwan?
Oh,
Is
they
that-
put like 30 something on
Oh,
Taiwan.
there's Taiwan right there. Yeah, 32%.
I don't know why.
What products, I wonder? Taiwan does semiconductors, doesn't
I think that's their main export. Yes.
Because I actually think Trump, in his speech, said Taiwan by name.
Mm. Yeah, that's tight. That's tough for Taiwan.
I think, because he was talking about the semiconductors and he wanted them to be within the U.S.
Let's make a prediction. You think in 10 years Taiwan exists?
Oof.
I want to say yes because it's always existed in my lifetime. So like, I want to say yes. but
I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, me neither.
I know they've been having a lot of riots in Hong Kong, I'm pretty sure, recently.
Really?
I mean,
haven't
you need to
heard that
fact
much
check me
about
on that
that.
one because it hasn't been in the news because there's so much other stuff going on. But I just heard that they were having a little bit of unrest over there.
I don't know. I guess like maybe, but
Maybe
the
not,
main
maybe
one
not.
was 2019 to
I remember
2020.
that was crazy. You know what? Maybe they haven't had it recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one which who knows if they'll be around 10 years from now.
Yeah, Hong Kong is part of China.
I know, but they're considered their own like separate entity. They got like their own government sort of.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the protests are about because they don't want them to. Be,
I thought the protesters essentially lost. They wanted something, they didn't get it.
well,
Like they didn't get what they wanted.
They didn't want a puppet government essentially.
But like nothing changed really. Like the protest didn't
Nothing
have.
changed. I don't
Yeah.
think.
So I kind of think that.
It's so like, how do you fight against China as a group within? You know
I
what
don't
I mean?
know.
It's such an enormous task. I mean,
Yeah,
you
that's-
should storm Capitol Hill, I guess.
I don't think that would end.
Yeah, it wouldn't work well over there.
I don't think so.
They'd just be able to gun down.
Yeah, probably. They're using like there were a lot of like
I
Turkey. Turkey's going crazy.
What is
What is Turkey?
well, maybe that's what I was seeing. Maybe those were the riots.
Oh
I was
yeah,
seeing.
maybe Turkey.
track.
There was also I forget what other country, but I know there was another country too. I don't know what the nature of their protests
The
were, but
sound weapon.
yeah,
was,
that wasn't
yeah.
Turkey. That was starts with an S.
Syria.
No, it was not Syria. But Turkey, they're having
Slovenia?
yeah, maybe it was Slovenia. But Turkey, they're going crazy because the leader, one of the, I don't think it's the leader of the opposition. I don't know how their government works, but he was going to be elected mayor of Istanbul, and they just fucking threw him in jail.
Why? Like for no reason?
I think they have like fabricated charges or charges that don't really make sense.
Why don't they like him though? Do you know?
Because Erdogan is the president, he wants to remain the president, and that guy is very popular.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
From my understanding, as
Yeah.
a bias,
Yeah.
smooth brain Westerner. I don't know the in details. I just saw a guy who was like one video of the protesters in Turkey, and the police had like the rubber bullets, and this guy. So there's like an empty space. On the far side is the police, and on the close side where the video was
Just the one
taken,
where he's
it's-
doing push-ups.
yeah, and he does
Yeah.
push-ups and gets shot. You could die like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he does push-ups being shot with a rubber bullet.
It's pretty wild.
That
I
is
saw
wild.
That video was crazy.
Who knows if that guy's okay? Because those things
He was
will.
probably pretty messed up.
Those things, yeah. There's a.
It bruised the hell out of you.
But like, if you get shot with a bunch of them, you get internal bleeding too.
Really, I
I
didn't know
think so. I'm not a doctor, but
that. I guess it depends on how close they shoot you from.
yeah. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I think it
Because
would
I
hurt.
imagine it would just be kind of like getting hit with frozen paintballs,
Um,
which I've never been hit by those, but I know
We
people
might
who
be
have, and they're not fun.
really, I just imagine some guy in the police is like, no, it's actually way worse. Like, I just imagine him listening, going, "That's
Yeah.
these guys are fucking retarded."
These guys are idiots. Yeah, no, I don't know. The Jackass guys got shot by them. Remember?
Oh, but they're all
you ever seen
fine.
that one? Yeah, they're all okay.
They're all fine. They're not.
There's no brain damage.
They're
going on over
completely normal. Those guys.
there.
Yeah.
What else we got on our list here? Housing. We were talking about housing
We
earlier.
covered tariffs. We covered Liberation Day. We talked about penguins, Syria.
Interest rates.
You want to do housing or interest rates
Let's
first?
talk about we were talking about housing earlier today, so let's talk about
Interest rates.
Powell is Trump's trying to get him to reduce
Yeah,
interest
you
rates.
told me about that. Talk about it
He
more.
said no, he wasn't going to do that. When do you think he would do it, though? Do you think he would wait? Because my first thought would be, okay, the stock market has gone down, but
Yeah.
we haven't really entered a recession yet. So is he saving it for a recession so it's more impactful?
So, I mean, Powell probably just wants to be conservative in the sense that he doesn't want to make a decision too quickly. So
Yeah.
there's a dual mandate for the Fed and the USA. Like I think we've talked about this before, where their dual mandate is to keep in full employment.
Yep.
Or close to it. They want to control employment levels for a positive reason, and then they want to keep inflation low. So I think Powell's just waiting to see what happens, because
It makes sense. That was what the article I was saying. What you just said is basically what the article I read earlier today was
Yeah.
saying as well.
because if the U.S. sees stagflation, like it's hard for the central bank to really do anything.
For sure.
Yeah,
I
because
still don't really understand stagflation that well.
well, let's Google it, man.
I was looking at it yesterday because we were talking about, or the day before because we were talking about it.
About a week ago.
But but I'm still not super. I don't really understand how it works.
Okay.
Like what causes
Well,
it?
let's define it for the listeners.
Like what would have to happen in our economy for stagflation to occur?
Like right, what's happening now? Well, there we go. Yeah, right now. Don't worry, you'll see it.
We have high inflation.
We will.
Why?
Well, because our number one trading partner is going to buy less stuff from us, so the value of our dollar will fall.
Okay.
So that means all goods that you buy, which are imported, will become more expensive.
Okay.
So that's inflation.
Okay. And then.
And we're going to
slow
have high
economic-
unemployment because our number one trading partner doesn't want to buy shit from us.
Yeah.
So people are going to lose their jobs. And we're going to have slow economic growth because, why don't you take a guess?
Well. So what is the difference between that and a recession?
The economic growth. A recession is like, no, it's actually an economic decline.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So wouldn't we have a recession instead of stagflation?
We could have either or. It's like a potluck. You can bring what you want. We could have either or.
Potluck sounds really good right about now.
Yeah, we could have
You see those South Korean hot pots?
no.
Those look really good, man. Oh, if we start chewing on stuff, this is gonna
Yeah.
be. This microphone is not gonna handle it well, I don't think.
What's a South Korean what?
Hot pot.
Okay, what's
So it's
that?
basically a pot that
It's
you put a
hot.
bunch of with I think it's like soup and broth in it, and you just bring a bunch of stuff and put it all in there, and then you start serving it out.
South Korean hot pot, often called, okay, Ryan, you try.
Jungle.
Jango, is a communal dish where various ingredients like meat, seafood, mushrooms, and vegetables are simmered in a broth and cooked at the table.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's just a regular hot pot, no?
that's what I called it.
But
What did you call it?
It's like a crock pot.
Potluck.
It's like a crock
What's the
pot.
difference between a potluck and a hot pot?
What the fuck, dude? A potluck is like when you go to like an event and you bring like one thing and everybody brings something and then it's a big consortment of goods that you can choose from.
Typically with this, everybody brings something and adds it to the pot.
Okay, so
It's a soup. So maybe that's the difference.
okay. All right.
One's a soup and the other one doesn't have to be a
So
soup.
it's like in Stardew Valley.
I don't know.
Yeah, so we do that in Stardew Valley. That's
Okay,
cool.
nice.
That sounds nice.
Anyways, back to stagflation, man.
yeah, stagflation. So so Canada will probably see a recession, but the U.S. might not see a recession because their economic growth has been pretty good. Well, it's been good. So it's definitely not going to be as good unless you're
So how does that affect us investing? How do you invest during stagflation? And would it be better for us to experience a recession instead of stagflation?
Oh man, I'm not educated. I've had economic professors say yes, and then but that's not what we do. So
Is it because stagflation occurs over a longer period of time?
I think that's the main thing. Like
Yeah.
stagflation is really hard to deal with, and it tends to be like not a very short term thing. So
Yeah.
like, isn't Japan in stagflation? I know I googled it and it said no, but I've always learned that Japan is in a stagflation.
That doesn't make sense because when you said that they're in stagflation, you were saying it was like over a long period of time. Like they had stagflation for a really long time, but they haven't done poorly in the past bunch of years. I didn't think. Could be wrong though. I mean, I'm not an expert on it.
I mean, it's debated, I guess. Google AI overview says it's debated.
Yeah.
It's a rare phenomenon.
Why is it occurring over there then, I guess, is the question.
I think we have to go back to the Japanese miracle.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to read more
I know
about
what
it
you're
to
talking
really
about,
say.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. There's some good documentaries about that. I need to watch them again, though.
Yeah, like in the 80s, people thought like Japan would just be the #1 economy in the world. Like I
Yeah.
think if you watch Back to the Future.
The Nikkei did like crazy.
Who?
The Nikkei is the Japanese trade stock market,
Oh.
exchange market, or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's Tokyo.
What?
That the Nikkei, you know, have that the New York Stock Exchange. I think Nikkei is for Tokyo.
Japanese stock?
It's the first one is stock market.
The Osaka
What, am I wrong
exchange?
then? Here, let me see.
What are you, uneducated?
What are you, an idiot?
Don't answer that, Ryan. As your lawyer, I'd recommend you. Nike, Ryan?
No, it's not. Not Nike.
As you Googled Nike, dude.
I can't remember what it's called. Sorry.
Just do it, man.
Just do it.
Nikkei. Try Nikeei. We're just going down a hole of Nike here, dude.
Biggest stock exchanges.
In Japan.
Well, now I don't even know if it's Japan. Like, I don't know where do I get this information from.
There's someone watching this from a different.
They're like,
different
what the hell's
country,
wrong
and
with
they're
this
like,
kid?
what are these dumb idiots?
Yeah.
Control FN.
Control.
Unless Nikkei doesn't start with an N, in which case I have no idea. And
Wow,
then
that's a
just-
lot of ends.
No, but you just look for the one of these that starts with an N.
I don't know how to do that. Why can I scroll down? Oh, because you have to do that. Yours is all crazy.
I use Arch because, I'm neurodivergent. Yeah, dude, I don't know where you got this Nikkei thing. Like, I respect you, dude, but...
It's maybe a crazy...
Yeah, I'm so sorry, bro. I don't know what a Nikkei is.
Yeah, I don't know what it was I saw. Oh, you know what it was spelled? NYKE.
It's just Nike Japan. Nike comes up again.
Yeah, friggin' Nike. Yeah, I don't know what it was I was thinking about.
Oh, there
Oh,
it
there
is,
it is.
Nikkei. It's a
Yeah.
company?
I don't know. I thought it was the Japanese stock market.
It's just,
NIKKEI.
just one company holding up the entire stock market.
NIKKEI.
It's basically Japanese Tesla.
The Nikkei 225, or the Nikkei stock average, more commonly
Oh.
called the Nikkei or the Nikkei index, is a stock market
It's like the
index.
S&P.
Yeah, for Tokyo Stock Exchange. So it's not the actual exchange. It's
And
just
what's the 5-year trend?
It's not bad.
I
I mean,
it's
compared to the rest of the world, it's not.
not doing too good since,
Well,
the tariffs.
since the tariffs, but I mean, come on. That, what year is that? That's 1989 is when they had the crazy.
Wow, they only just passed that
Yeah,
a few years ago.
yeah. Which could actually be a good sign in terms of like the country turning around a little bit. for
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Sort of thing.
So whether stagflation is better than a recession is, it's out of my realm of expertise, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot harder to deal with because of, I think we've talked about it on the show before, because, there's low economic growth, so you want to cut interest rates to stimulate economic growth, but you can't because of inflation.
Oh, because it makes the inflation worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to control the inflation by raising rates, it'll make the economic growth and the unemployment worse.
So essentially, you have to put yourself into a recession to fix it.
I mean, there might be other ways. You could just probably wait, and then the economy will eventually correct.
What if you just get the government to start buying a lot of gold
I don't know, but
to hedge the money against it, so that the inflation is sort of.
You should look into what the Japanese government did during their period of stagflation before. because they did a crazy amount of counter-cyclical financial planning. I'm not sure if any of it involved buying gold, but I know the government at one point over there was buying like corporate bonds and all this crazy stuff. So
I actually don't know. I have no idea whether buying gold would be good or not. I just don't know enough about it.
What are you trying to do with buying gold? You just
Well,
a
I don't
gold
know.
bug?
I was just thinking like
Because it's shiny?
because the problem with inflation is typically that the value of the money is going down, and to prop up the value, you'd have a bunch of gold.
So you're trying to move from a flexible exchange rate to a fixed exchange rate?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to find some way to put value on the money again.
But it's a flexible exchange rate. So like, if the central bank has a lot of gold, who cares?
Would the central bank be the one buying it, or the government? Does the government buy gold?
They could.
Yeah.
They can.
Would that
The
change
U.S.
anything?
government wants to buy fucking Solana. Like, I'm pretty sure they can buy gold.
Well, that's my point. So would the government buy gold over there, and how would that affect? I don't know. I have no idea
Hold on,
what I'm
wait.
talking
It's an
about.
interesting thought, but I don't think it'll do anything.
Yeah.
Like, how does buying gold? Does it do anything to
Well,
unemployment?
I'm just trying to find some way to give the money value.
No, I don't-
Value and slow the rate of inflation, because even though there is inflation, could you not counterbalance it in some way? I don't know.
Okay, I respect that. That you don't know, I respect that. The government could buy corporate bonds and various other counter-cyclical financial activities in order to give money to corporations so they can grow more. And that'll reduce unemployment, and that'll reduce the bad economic growth, but it'll make inflation worse. Like, I don't think there's a way to solve both those problems simultaneously. Well,
So
it's
which problem is worse?
probably the
unemployment or-
unemployment rate,
Yeah.
because I think society begins to fall apart if a lot of people are unemployed.
Would there be some way to incentivize the people themselves to buy gold? So
Dude, why are you so
my
fixated on
point
gold?
no, it's because my point my thought is if you can solve the unemployment rate, they're going to be paid in cash, but you don't want their cash to lose value too quickly, because then they'll be screwed. So if you incentivize them to buy gold, even though the inflation is changing, they'll be able to sell the gold to get the things they need later on. I'm just thinking, like, how can the people themselves be okay even with the inflation?
Why buy gold when you can? Could they buy any asset? Is
Well,
gold
I just know that most people don't know how to invest, and gold is fairly. It's not real. It's not an asset. It's not like a producer, but it's a store of value. So people who are being affected by inflation could buy gold due to their own ignorance around how to do investing. It would allow them to still have a safety measure in place going forward. I don't know.
Okay. I mean,
How
like,
can a regular
from an
person-
individual's perspective, I
Yeah.
think that could be smart, but I don't think it solves inflation. The exact mechanisms by it doesn't solve don't interrupt me. The exact
gonna say
sorry,
anything.
the exact mechanisms by how it doesn't solve inflation, I don't know right now off the top of my head. The reason I say it's not going to solve it is because if we look at Argentina a few years ago, I don't know how Argentina is doing now, but a few years ago, like the currency, the Argentinian peso, is it the peso
I
they
don't
use?
know. I
I
don't know
think
what they
it's
use.
the peso. I don't know, but it was very volatile, and most people actually got paid in the Argentinian currency, and they exchanged it for USD. So the most people held their money in USD and not the actual currency of the country, and that didn't make inflation any less worse over there
What was the inflation like in the U.S.?
at that time.
Like, does it matter that the Argentinian peso was losing its value if people weren't using it anyways? Because wouldn't it lose its value when people don't use it? So couldn't you say that made its value worse because people don't want it?
It may make it no. I think it's mostly international trade that affects inflation, or the money printer.
Well, my thought was that if you had all these people who are trying to get rid of their
It would probably make inflation
peso,
worse.
yeah, they'd be getting rid of it, so the demand for it would go down as people fled to the U.S. dollar.
Can you keep talking about this so I can ask AI to give me an answer?
Sure.
Let's keep talking, Ryan.
For
Should I ask DeepSeek or ChatGPT? I like DeepSeek. I'm gonna ask DeepSeek.
all right, sounds good. Meta just released another AI today.
Oh,
I
really?
think they just released two.
Meta AI. I never hear anything about Meta AI.
I don't either.
I think they had some kind
I
of
think
semi-open
Llama-
source.
Llama 4, like two.
Isn't that open source? Is that Meta?
I thought it was, or maybe it was Alphabet. I just saw something on my phone, a little pop-up, where they were talking about it. Oh yeah, here it is. Meta unveils new version of its AI language model, Llama 4 Scout and Llama 4 Maverick. I don't know what those are though.
I've heard of Llama. Isn't it some kind of semi-open source thing?
I have no idea. I don't even know what that means. What is an open source?
Like if you're cool, you use open source software.
Oh, I see.
Open source
I guess
just
we're
means
just
like
not cool enough.
it's so an open source software would be community developed.
Oh,
Yeah.
so just random people are working on their thing and they're
Yes.
profiting off it?
No, they're not profiting. No, in most cases, anyways. I don't know if there are semi-open
Would
source.
they not be able to collect the data from the llama and then sell it to other AI companies, or integrate
it's
it
not
into their
a.
own private
It
one?
may be hypothetically possible, but it's typically not a for-profit business model. It's
Hmm.
not it's not for-profit at all. It's just people who are passionate about a project,
Hmm.
and they can put it on their resume.
How would it be connected to Meta then?
Because some companies, okay, so like with open source software, the product is typically more secure. Even though you'd think it wouldn't be, it is, because if you have an internal development team, there may be like 50, maybe like 40, 100, 150 people looking at the code. But if it's on fucking GitHub, literally there are thousands of people looking at the code
okay, I
all the
see.
time. So it's more, open source software tends to be more secure. So
Yeah.
some companies they've taken advantage of this to lower development costs and to have better security. They have some parts of the code proprietary that they control, and they sell the whole package, but they use open source components that they let the community develop.
That's interesting.
So I think Meta it might be doing something like that, but I'm
That's
not sure.
interesting.
I'm ignorant.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah,
That's very smart.
yeah, it is. It's interesting.
I wonder how much it affects their costs.
Probably a
That's
significant
yeah.
amount. I mean, they have a better product at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
In some cases, like there are probably like maybe this strategy isn't for everything. Like obviously
Yeah,
with business
yeah.
strategies, everything wouldn't work.
Yeah, they're not going to do it with their iPhone, with an iPhone at
Yeah.
Apple, you know what I mean?
But
A regular person can't affect that anyways, really.
Hmm?
The regular person wouldn't be able to affect products that weren't like coding,
I suppose
right?
not.
So it would have to be only coding for open source, which I guess that refers specifically to coding anyways. But yeah, I guess like if you're a hedge fund and you have a proprietary formula, or a proprietary code that you're using for your like hyper fast trades or whatever, you wouldn't want to have regular people doing that because then they could implement it themselves as well.
Yeah, but maybe there are aspects that you might want to remain, or like maybe there are aspects that could be useful to have an open source model.
Yeah.
Maybe the web interface, possibly, like who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
Back to the stagflation.
I was going to say
inflation,
something interesting.
gold.
I forgot. Okay, so I asked DeepSeek if there is inflation and everybody just stores their money in gold, will that help inflation? Here's what it said. If everyone were to store their money in gold during periods of inflation, the effect on inflation itself would be complex and potentially mixed. Here's a structured analysis. 1. Individual hedge versus macro impact. For individuals, gold can act as a hedge against inflation, preserving purchasing power at its value as its value often rises when fiat currencies depreciate. Economy-wide, mass conversion of currency into gold could reduce volatility of money, slower circulation, the velocity of money, which might temporarily dampen demand-driven inflation. Okay, fair. However, this depends on the central bank's monetary policy response. 2. Current depreciation risk. A large-scale sell-off of currency for gold would weaken the currency further, exacerbating inflation if imports become costlier, especially in countries reliant on foreign goods. This creates a feedback loop. Currency devaluation, higher import prices, more inflation. Okay, fine. Central bank role. If demands at the central bank continue expanding the money supply, e.g. printing money, Inflation may persist regardless of gold demand. Central banks might also intervene by selling gold reserves or raising interest rates to stabilize the currency with uncertain outcomes. 4. Liquidity and financial stability. A rush to gold could strain financial systems, causing liquidity crisis if banks face withdrawals. Historically, governments have sometimes restricted gold ownership, e.g., Executive Order
6102.
6102 in 1933 U.S. to retain monetary control, which could recur. Root cause unaddressed. That's number 5. Inflation stems from factors like thank you, Ryan. Excessive money supply growth, supply shocks, or demand surges. Switching to gold does not resolve these issues. For example, in hyperinflation scenarios, e.g., Zimbabwe, Venezuela, shout out Venezuela, gold might shield individuals, but cannot alone stop systemic collapse without fiscal/monetary reform.
What's the conclusion here?
Conclusion. While gold can protect individual wealth during inflation, a systemic shift to gold is unlikely to, quote, fix, unquote, inflation. It might mitigate some demand-side pressures, but risks currency instability, liquidity crisis, and neglects underlying causes. Effective inflation control typically requires coordinated monetary policy, e.g., adjusting interest rates and money supply and addressing structural economic issues. So no.
So ask it, how do you solve
Stagflation.
stagflation?
I don't think there's even consensus amongst a lot of economists on how to solve stagflation. You could just leave it alone
Yeah.
and it might go away. Like,
That's like the economist's version of procrastination. Procrastination.
I think it also depends. Like if you think like Albert Smith is more correct and you're a free market economist, then you shouldn't really do anything. The market's supposed to correct itself.
Mhm.
If you're a Keynesian, then you might want government to interfere, but over the long term, it'll still correct itself somehow.
Yeah. Huh. It's complicated. All right, let's see. What does it say here?
Okay, stagflation, a combination of stagnant economic growth, high unemployment, and rising inflation, is one of the most challenging economic scenarios because traditional policy tools, e.g., lowering interest rates to boost growth or raising them to curb inflation, can worsen one problem while trying to fix another. Solving stagflation requires a multi-pronged approach and that addresses both supply side and demand side factors. Here's a structured framework. 1. Tackle supply side constraints. Stagflation often arises from supply shocks, e.g., energy crisis, disrupted supply chains. Oh, we might be looking at that. And that raise production costs and reduce output. Solutions include boost productive capacity, which means invest in infrastructure, technology, and energy alternatives, e.g. renewables. I don't know why renewables, but okay. To reduce reliance on volatile inputs like oil. Oh, okay. I guess it answered my question.
Wait. Invest in infrastructure, energy alternatives. Why do you want an alternative?
To reduce reliance on volatile inputs like oil.
Oh, because
If-
oil is not.
I think like it's just saying that
reliable.
very generally. If the supply shock isn't caused by oil, it doesn't necessarily mean anything to do
Okay.
that. But it's just maybe giving you a hypothetical. It's maybe assuming why is stagflation happening. Maybe oil prices rose crazy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then this other point, deregulate strategically, remove bottlenecks in critical industries, e.g. labor markets, permit for energy production to lower costs and increase efficiency.
Oh, like the way they're removing interprovincial trade barriers. That'd be an example of that, right? Because it even though you're having inflation and you're having decreased employment and all this sort of thing,
I think
doing business is easier now anyways.
I don't think it's like directly an example. Like I think it's related, yeah. But I think a better example of the government, the Liberal government, I think both of them actually, they want to remove like taxes on. What do they want to do?
I don't know.
They want to remove red tape with like development, no?
Oh,
And they want to remove some of the red tape with pipelines, like only
Yeah.
one permit or only one you have to do like one process instead of multiple. So that might be a more in line with this example. But I still think you're right. because removing interprovincial trade barriers should increase efficiency, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah,
I think so.
because it allows provinces to specialize
Well,
more.
yeah.
But people will lose their job. Like it will
What
affect.
businesses would benefit the most from reduced interprovincial trades?
Oh, probably alcohol.
Alcohol, you think?
Like it's really hard to sell like alcohol in more alcohol produced in Ontario is sold to the EU than to other provinces.
Huh. Because I'm wondering, within the Canadian economy,
Yeah,
how does consolidation work if it's difficult to do interprovincial trade,
consolidation.
like within companies?
I don't know. I'm not following.
Like if you're in an industry, how do you consolidate within an industry with like buying the competition if you can't do interprovincial trade?
I mean, what? There's nothing stopping you from being a Alberta producer of wine that then buys a Ontario producer of wine.
That's true.
It's
Is
just
there-
hard to sell that Ontario wine back to BC probably, and vice versa.
So, like, would it be like? Is there any tax implications or any difficulties if you're working in multiple provinces?
Probably.
Yeah. And I know.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends where you're incorporated.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not sure. I think you only pay corporate taxes where you're at the rate of the place you're incorporated.
I know that that guy from the EU. I don't know
that guy from the
yeah,
EU?
the guy from the EU. He's
Oh, yeah.
some sort. I think he was a diplomat or something. Or no, he worked for a
Tony
what
Blair.
what are these companies called that give advice to other companies?
Consultants.
He worked for a consultant firm who consulted with companies in the EU who wanted to spread outside of the EU internationally.
Yeah.
And I think he said that a lot of the times he advised against going to Canada because it was difficult to do business here just because of the interprovincial trades. So he would help them, but a lot of the times they would just say no based purely off the fact that it was difficult to spread through all of Canada and they had to stay within one province.
Fair.
But yeah.
They
So-
wanna remove those interprovincial trades by Canada Day.
By Canada, when's Canada Day?
Yeah, you should know. So when you have it tattooed on your body.
Yeah, literally. No, I don't actually have a tattoo on my body.
When is Canada Day? When is Canada Day? We should know this. It's in January. It's in July.
1st. I thought it was July. I thought it was July 1st.
July 1st.
Just a lie. I didn't think that at all.
So apparently they want to remove all or the vast majority of interprovincial trade barriers by July 1st.
So that's actually soon. That's quick.
Yeah, I mean, people are skeptical about like if they're really going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It would be. I mean, there's a demand. Like, there's a political demand to do it. Like, we've never seen a political demand like we're seeing now to do this.
And I bet you.
Like, a lot of people didn't even know about interprovincial trade barriers.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably most people are hearing about this for the first time.
Well, I didn't know about interprovincial
That's not true. I've been
trade
telling
barriers
you about it.
before.
Yeah. You don't remember all the times I'm like, like each province in Canada does more trade with the U.S. than they do with each other.
That was since we've been talking about tariffs. And
No,
stuff
bro,
like
I told
that.
you about that like last year.
Really?
I've been telling everybody.
Oh, I forgot about that then.
Well,
My bad.
It's all, it's
Sorry,
all
bro.
good. It's cool. It's cool. Now everybody
That
knows.
would have been a
anyways.
valuable thing to know.
Now everybody knows somehow.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big political push to do it. How they want to do it by Canada Day.
Hmm.
So we'll see how
So
that
what?
goes.
My question for that though was, how would we invest within countries in Canada that would be?
Countries in Canada?
Sorry, I was distracted by the thing you just ate.
What thing I just said?
Oh, the mystery raspberry jam thing. How would we figure out what companies to invest in that would benefit from interprovincial trade the most? What industries are
Probably transportation.
What industries would benefit the most?
Probably
so like the
transportation.
railways,
Trucking, probably. Like major.
CN Rail or Canadian
Can you
National
buy
Railway.
stocks
Yeah,
in
you
CN
can.
Rail?
Yeah, or actually check.
Isn't it? Maybe it was a Crown Corporation.
Yeah, I might be wrong. Because we got a couple of railways. It's pretty easy to understand too. Oh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
No, yes, you can buy CN Rail right here. Here it says no, but at Google
Yeah, but you
it
have to
overview.
buy through a registered broker.
It says it's traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange.
Oh, there it says it. Yeah, just type in CN Rail, because you'll get their. Why doesn't it show their? Oh yeah, okay, their stock.
Oh yeah, you can buy it.
Okay, nice.
How are they doing? Ooh, they've been doing bad since 2024. I guess this
That's
was
since
COVID.
the tariffs, man.
No, bro.
March 28th.
That's the
20,
tariffs?
Oh, 2024.
Yeah, 2024.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
This must have been the COVID boom. No, I don't even know what this is. I don't know why.
This would be expand that to max. Okay, so now this is from when? What year is that?
This
That's
is-
1996 all the way up to 2025.
Damn, bro. If you put all your money in CN Rail in 1996,
Railways are a good investment, man.
Yeah.
Especially as our population increases, the railway is going to be more important, I think. But yeah, so that would probably it makes sense that they would benefit. You're right. The transportation, like anything that's transporting goods
Yeah.
across
So I
provincial
think
lines.
transportation
Yeah.
in any
That's a good point.
any province would
What
probably
about
be better.
utilities?
I have no idea. Like water?
Electricity, I'm thinking more.
I don't think our electricity grid is really interconnected that much, like as much as you'd think it is.
I used to be invested in Suncor, which
Okay.
it was a pretty good. They were pretty stable.
What do they do?
They are a utility company that does. I can't remember. I was invested in them a long time ago. I think they did gas as well as gas power. I think they did electricity as well. They were trying to move more towards renewables. The last time I checked,
Okay. I'm looking up something else.
I think they're the biggest utility company in one of the biggest in Canada. I'm pretty sure, but utility companies in general is probably an interesting one to see how they're affected by interprovincial trade barriers. I don't know. We were talking about like tech companies and cybersecurity companies before, but I reconsidered that because I don't know that much.
I talked to Dwayne and about.
And, yeah.
I'm like, Ryan's like cybersecurity is doing great, and Dwayne's like, yeah, Ryan's 100% right. You know why? And he's like, there's this big thing with, he called it vibe coding,
Yeah.
where it's basically people are making apps and stuff, but they're just getting Claude to do it for them. And there's like big security issues with the programs that Claude helps them write.
Oh wow.
And he gave an example. He's like, this one guy made some app and he accidentally leaked his private keys. he just
jeez.
lost all his money.
That's crazy.
So he's like, so basically, cybersecurity is really important because to try and fix all these errors with these vibe coders, because even though AI is like growing exponentially, it's not really there yet.
Yeah. So my reconsideration was not necessarily around the industry, it was more around my own personal skill. So I am not that educated on technology.
Yeah.
I want to be, but I think it's going to take a while for me to be educated enough to be able to make good decisions in terms of investing. But in the meanwhile, if I were to get into utilities and railway companies, those are a little simpler to understand. And so the risk of, and also they're not that volatile, so the risk of me screwing up, even though it's higher due to my own inexperience, the amount of money I could lose, while it's still 100% of your money you can lose, but because they're not as volatile, it's less likely that I would lose it. You know what I mean? So it's more of like a safe industry to learn and start with.
You have to also look at, like I said, transportation, but like they would benefit the most from removing interprovincial trades, but they're also probably going to suffer the most from not doing trade with the U.S.
Does CN Rail go to the U.S. a lot?
Probably not. No, but that's just one example.
I was thinking more train. I wasn't thinking trucking company. I don't know any trucking companies. I was thinking more along the lines of railway companies, which I don't know how many we have, to be honest. I would need to look more. You know, Warren Buffett's whole thing: know your spots and stick to them. Well, I'm trying to expand the number of spots I know.
Fair. No, that's fair. And you know what? Somehow CN Rail or the Canadian National Railway operates a significant network in the United States.
Oh wow.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Man, it's almost like over the course of like 60 years, we've really interconnected these two countries.
Oh, yeah.
Like in such a way that's not really been done anywhere in the world, and now we just want to
anywhere in history.
Yeah, and now we just want to go. You know what? Oops.
Yeah. Oops. That was a mistake.
We'll see how that goes, dude. This map, this Canada freight.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
It goes to Mexico.
Yeah.
Like, that's
wow,
Mexico.
Wow.
What is green here? That's
Canadian Pacific and Canadian National. Canadian
hell is
National
Canadian
all the way
Pacific?
goes down all the way to Houston.
What is Canadian Pacific?
I think it's probably just a different railway company.
Were they both crown corporations, you think?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Maybe they started as the same crown corporation.
But maybe that would actually be a good investment. Like if those are good companies, the tariffs will make it harder
in the short
in
term.
the short term, but long term, they'll be able to still sort of.
That's. I mean, you're assuming that
How
the
much?
tariffs are temporary.
Okay, but here's another question: is CN Rail paying those tariffs, or is the company that's hiring their services paying it?
It's
How
the
does
company
tariffs affect-
hiring the service, but if they're
Yeah, they're gonna. Well, you
it's the company importing. So America and Americans are going to pay those tariffs, but
Yeah.
they're going to buy less. So I don't even know if like maybe we're like too ignorant, but this doesn't CN Rail mostly transport people?
I don't know.
Well, let's just make
I
the
don't think so.
assumption.
That doesn't make sense to me, because you think there's.
I'm
enough
thinking of
people-
Via Rail.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen. So let's just make the assumption for right now that most of the CN Rail one is profitable because maybe it's subsidized by the government. So we'll make the assumption that CN Rail is profitable anyways. Two, we'll make the assumption that it mostly moves goods. So if those two things are true, then sure, moving goods to the U.S., the people in America will pay those tariffs, but they're also going to buy less. So
Yeah.
the volume will go down. Also, CN Rail will also lose profit because it depends on like demand elasticity.
Mm.
It's because okay, at the end of the day, people don't pay 100% of the tariffs.
Yeah.
Like Americans do pay the tariffs, but they don't pay 100% of them because it's about demand elasticity.
Yeah.
So if I'm a Canadian seller and I sell something to you as an American, let's say you're an American, but there are local substitutes you can buy which are close, like not identical, but close enough. If I pass 100% of the tariffs on to you, you're just going to say, fuck it, I'm going to buy the local substitute. So
Yeah.
if I lower my prices marginally and then but you still get the tariffs, but in essence, you're not getting a full percent, like 100% of those tariffs because I've reduced my profit to cover some of them, it's going to be more likely you continue to buy
So
my
we're
stuff.
making another assumption here.
Yeah.
We're making the assumption that CN Rail is exporting only and not importing at all,
Oh, that's
right?
well,
How does
yeah,
the tariffs?
that's a good point.
So do they pay both?
Well, we're doing retaliatory
Are they
tariffs.
affected? They would be affected by both
Yeah.
sets of tariffs going both,
Yeah, they
both
will.
ways. But how does it affect their cost structure? Which I have no idea how you would.
What do you
go
even
around.
mean when you say
Like,
cost structure?
Because those companies, there's a cost around how, like, if they're going to be moving less product, the number of shipping cars they need, I'm assuming they're called shipping cars, they need in order to move that stuff is going to go down as well, right? So maybe they're going to move less product, but they're going to need less gas to do it because there's less weight being pulled and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, how does it affect the different things?
It's going to affect their overhead allocation
I think
for sure.
this goes back down to the not knowing enough about the industry.
Yeah, but this is going to definitely affect their overhead allocation because,
Yeah.
like, a railway is not like something you build one time then you never touch it. There
Yeah.
has to be like ongoing costs associated with the entirety of the rail line.
Mm-hmm.
So that's overhead.
Yeah.
The overhead gets put onto individual units. So if you're moving less individual units, like the overhead allocation will make it so the amount of overhead allocated to those individual units increases in price.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if that's what you meant by cost structure, but it's just something that I know about.
I don't know. I don't know what I meant.
It's okay. Cost structure.
Just trying to learn a little
How does
bit.
it affect the revenue structure?
Yeah. How does it affect profits?
How does
revenue equals
You know what, man? How does
profits
it?
equal revenue minus expenses.
There you go, man.
That's all you need to
how
know.
does it affect the vibe?
Yeah, the vibe. Yeah, the cybersecurity one as well is interesting. I think that would take longer to understand just because I don't understand coding,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know how to check whether this company's product is actually good or not.
I mean, I'm sure you don't really need to be an expert. You probably just need to be a good
But
business person.
It's
You probably
easy
don't
to
need know.
understand whether the product is good if it's a candy bar. You buy the candy bar and you see the reviews of the candy bar. But the reviews for cybersecurity would be a bunch of people who have it but don't know how to code. So they
Yeah.
wouldn't actually know if it's good or not, right?
Yeah, I don't
all-
even know
all
what
they could say
cybersecurity
is-
companies do.
all
Like, I
they
don't know.
could
We're
say-
talking a lot about
well-
code, but aren't they the people who protect you from like identity theft online and shit?
But don't they do that through like coding?
I don't know. I've never looked at these to be honest.
Usually they have like softwares that protect you from that stuff.
I
so
use
it would be code.
X Intercept.
I don't know what that is.
It's to protect your phone from like
I use uBlock.
That's not. Isn't that an ad blocker?
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's
my cybersecurity is whatever came with the computer.
Windows Defender,
Yeah, probably.
or is it Microsoft Defender? It's one of those.
I have no idea.
It's one of those, dude. I remember back in the day, I got like Avast. I don't even know if they're still around, but Avast used to have like a free antivirus.
Yeah.
And somehow my computer got a virus, and all my friends were like, "Oh my god, Avast! They gave you the virus. It's Avast. It's like it's an inside job."
Oh no.
I wonder if they're still around.
Yeah, cybersecurity is one that I've been interested in for a long time. It's just very complicated and very dry reading. I found reading though is really dry. It's hard to motivate yourself for that, I guess. But got to do it.
I think for other industries, Canada-wide, I don't know if any of them will outright benefit, but I think players in different provinces will benefit. So, for example, it could be that, like, look at the map and pick a random province. Try not to piss anybody off, or territory.
Saskatchewan.
Okay, so it could be that in Saskatchewan, there just have less competitive advantage to produce alcohol as compared to pick another province.
Alberta.
Compared to Alberta, it may be that Alberta just has a more unique set of skills that like make them more competitive at producing alcohol. But people right now in Saskatchewan still produce alcohol because it's somewhat protected via the trade barriers. When those are brought down, like, and different provinces can buy alcohol from different provinces, for example, there's going to be, like, the Saskatchewan producers of alcohol are going to face a lot of challenges. Like, a lot of them, some of them might go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And that business will be taken over by the producer of alcohol in
There's
in
going to be
Alberta.
a big shift in the way things are done.
Yeah, but an economist would say that's good because it's better when people actually specialize in what
Yeah.
they're good at versus trying to do everything.
That makes sense.
So if you want to pick a company in the alcohol industry or something, you'd have to do a lot more research about the individual players and actually the provinces themselves
Yeah.
and such.
Did you ever get around to reading that newsletter, the investing intrinsic value newsletter?
About Hershey's,
Yeah.
I didn't get all the way through it. I had it open. I don't have it
I
open.
thought it was interesting. They talked about the cocoa beans
Yes.
and how it's more expensive for you to buy cocoa beans, but it's because the price has been going up, but not the supply. So there's like the same. They've got a sufficient supply, but it's hard to get it all just because of the cost structures, and that depending on where you are in the States.
why is it gone up?
I
Because
don't know. I can't remember it. I read it yesterday and I've forgotten.
it must be because I thought I read it. And I thought it said something like there was droughts and it affected
Oh, it was
the
a weather
production.
thing. Yeah. It was like climate change.
And also supply chain disruptions for some reason.
Yeah.
So supply has gone down. That's why price has gone up.
The production has stayed the same. Like the amount that they're producing is stayed. That doesn't make sense. If the weather was going, I'm forgetting what it was now. If the weather was bad, they weren't able to produce as much.
So
Okay, that makes
supply is
sense.
down.
Then why? Because they said they had like a paragraph where it was Hershey's annual like meeting or whatever.
Yeah.
And in the meeting, they said it's not actually a problem for us getting the proper amount, but the prices have changed. Like everybody is able to get the same amount, but the futures contracts have gotten so high that you can't really buy it properly with like at a good price.
I mean, yeah, just because you can still get it doesn't mean there's not a supply problem.
Yeah, I think as well they were speculating that it'll be hard in the future, so people are doing a lot of future contracts and making things expensive.
I never really understood how that works. Like,
I think the way futures contracts works is basically setting the price for the product you want ahead of time, because if you're worried, so basically it's like trying to short.
now, I know what a
So-
futures contract is, but like I've bought a futures contracts and like they deliver that shit to you after if you don't sell it.
They do it with
Really?
yeah,
Oh.
because you're
So
buying.
if I buy oil futures and I don't sell them, they're gonna deliver me oil?
Well, there was the joke that back in I don't remember when, like 70 years ago or something, on Wall Street, some guy bought a contract for cattle, and he forgot to close it, and they brought like 100 cows to Wall Street. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, because you're buying actual like actual thing. It's actual thing. It's not like buying a portion of a company,
Oh.
right? If you're buying a what's it called? It starts with a C. When you're buying like hay or no, not cocaine, cocoa or like the raw materials. What's it called?
Canola oil?
No.
Is it a thing like you eat? Is it like a food?
No, if you buy like wheat, or if you buy a bunch of corn,
Yeah.
but in large quantities on the stock market, what is that asset class called?
Commodities, right?
Commodities. My brain is not working.
They're commodities.
If you're doing commodities trading,
Yeah.
it's not the same as stock trading,
Mm.
because with commodities, it's an actual like physical thing that'll get delivered eventually.
There's a professor here who teaches some finance course, and apparently he's like a commodities trader.
Really,
I don't know who he is.
I don't know how you would do commodities trading. I guess
You
is
just
it
trade.
basically like lots of little arbitrage? Because you're looking for price
I-
inconsistencies.
I mean, that could be one strategy, but I don't think with like algorithmic bots and stuff you could even do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of speculation.
So he's just betting essentially.
Well, I mean, I think it's different. I think betting is different because it's like a 50-50
Yeah.
or whatever.
yeah.
He's probably doing
You
a
know
lot
what
of
I mean, though,
research.
like-
Yeah.
It's you'd be mainly speculating about where things would
Yeah,
go.
you'd be probably.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
speculating about if this is like a weird market event and this price shouldn't actually be how it is.
Yeah. Hmm.
But arbitrage would involve one exchange having a different price for the thing than another exchange.
Yeah.
And with
yeah.
bots and stuff, I don't think you can even do that.
Yeah. I wonder if that's how they used to do commodities trading back in the day.
Maybe.
Well, I
Maybe
guess
back
you
in the
can. I guess
90s.
arbitrage is in any area as long as there's a price difference, like an incorrect pricing sort of difference across exchanges. But yeah, man, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
What else is on our list here?
We have housing. We have
What
in.
is signal leaks?
Oh, you should pull up your phone and go to that group chat.
Oh,
Signal is
yeah.
doing like great. Like it's not a private company, so you never see ads for it. But if they were running ads, Signal would be doing amazing because everybody, the CIA is using Signal. The goddamn who protects the president?
Secret Service.
The
or
Secret
whatever.
Service is using Signal. The Vice President is using Signal. The head of National Defense is using
They're
Signal.
all on Signal.
Yeah, so like if Signal was running ads, this would be a great time for them.
Oh yeah.
I think people are just hearing about Signal this year. They're like, wow.
Yeah. All right, let's read.
You're gonna read all of them? There's a lot. I mean, there's not a lot, but it'll take you a little time to read them. Oh, why don't I just take your phone, and I will look at the ones that I found most interesting. You can continue
I
speaking.
don't have Safari. Or sorry, I don't have Reddit.
You don't have Reddit?
No.
What are you, like, not depressed?
I never use Reddit.
You never use Reddit?
No.
What do you?
I think the reason why is because I'm not depressed.
Reddit's.
No, I just never. I don't use. I just don't talk to people online. That's basically it.
Okay, dude. All right, man. I hope you get your stuff sorted out. I'm here for you. What was interesting here?
The blackmail one you said.
Yeah, but there was other interesting things, and I don't know where that one is exactly. Let's just start with the vice president. He
Yeah.
went to Greenland and he said it was cold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's accurate.
that maps.
That's accurate.
That maths. So, JD Vance, he says, Team, I am out for the day doing an economic event in Michigan, but I think we are making a mistake. This is about bombing the Houthis because they were messing with those international waterways.
Yeah.
3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez. 40% of European trade does. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this is, as POTUS said, I forget what POTUS stands for.
President of the United States.
President of the United States said, to send a message. But I am not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I am willing to support the consensus of the team to keep these concerns to myself, but there is a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why it matters, seeing where the economy is, etc. That's
Was the president part of this?
no. He
Yes.
wasn't in the boys' chat.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but he wasn't in there.
So that they could talk candidly.
Maybe, but they didn't say anything too disrespectful.
I
But
know,
I guess
but I
if he
mean-
was there, he'd be like, "What the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
I'm the best president.
Yeah, I'm the best.
I understand the
Stable
messaging.
genius.
You don't have the cards."
Yeah.
Okay, then this is Joe Kent, who I'm not sure who he is. There is nothing time sensitive driving this timeline, so he's basically saying we can do it now, we can do it later. One other thing he says is the Israelis will likely take strikes and therefore ask for more support to replenish whatever they use against the Houthis. But that's a minor factor. So basically, here they're saying if we don't do it, the Israelis are going to ask us. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So people will probably be like, "Oh, the Israelis have so much control over the U.S." There's like people because of the war over there. Okay, then this is John Ratcliffe. He's talking about the CIA perspective. He's like, a delay isn't a big deal. We can do it now, we can do it later. Later would be okay. We get better intel. Is basically all he said. Then this is Pete Hegseth. He's the guy with the weird
Oh, the
tattoo on.
tattoo,
Yeah. He goes, VP, I understand your concerns and fully support you raising with President of the United States important considerations, most of which are tough to know how they play out. Then bracket, economy, Ukraine peace, Gaza, etc. I think messaging is going to be tough no matter what. Nobody knows who the Houthis are, which is why we would stay focused on one, Biden failed.
That's a random one.
Two, but that's what they do, dude. So if you go to the beginning of these messages, it's like Mike added. Let me go to the beginning of the messages. Like when they don't know what to do, they just blame the Democrats. Because I was watching this with Mike, and we were laughing so hard. Here this is the journalist screenshots. Here it says Michael Waltz added you to the group.
Okay.
So
nice.
Michael Waltz is the guy who added the journalist.
Yeah.
So he was on like CNN or some other news network, and they're like, how'd this happen? And he was trying to make excuses, and they kind of asked him again, and he's like, and then he started talking about the Democrats. He brought up Obama. And me and Mike were like, what the fuck does Obama have to do with this?
That's crazy.
It was so funny. But yeah, when they don't really know what to say, they just go, the Democrats. Anyways, so one, Biden failed. Two, Iran funded. So that's how they're going to message to the American people that the
Iran.
Houthis are bad.
Okay.
The Iran funded them and Biden failed. So I don't know. I think that's disrespectful to the intelligence, but Then he goes, waiting a few weeks or a month does not fundamentally change the calculus. This is cool. Two immediate risks on waiting. One, this leaks and we look indecisive.
That's the one I've read. I've read that one, yeah.
Then two, Israel takes action first, or Gaza ceasefire falls apart, and we don't get to start this on our own terms. We can manage both. So he's like, yeah, these are risks, but they're manageable. Who cares if the chat gets leaked? It's not going to happen. So
Yeah, that's crazy.
then we go, we are preparing to execute, and if I had a final go or no go vote, I believe we should. This is not about the Houthis. I see it as two things. One, restoring freedom of navigation, a core national interest, and two, reestablish deterrence, which Biden cratered. Biden again, here we go. This guy Biden is like, fuck, I'm not even talking more about me when I'm gone. Then this guy says something that's not very interesting. Then this guy talks about, it's a lot of trade, 15% of global trade and 30% of container trade. And like, while the U.S. doesn't use a lot of it, Europe does send a lot of that to the U.S. So it affects them in other ways for inputs for some things. So he's just clarifying like why it might be important for U.S. interests. Okay. Then this is Michael Waltz. He said some stuff. It's not very important. R.I.P. Michael Waltz. Then Pete Hetzeg says, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe. This is Vance, I mean. So he adds Pete Hetzeg and goes, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again.
What?
Yeah. And then let's just make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. Okay. Then Pete Hetzeg goes, VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's capital pathetic. Then he goes, but Mike is correct. Well, that might be the Mike who leaked these chats, so he's credible. But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet, bracket, on our side of the ledger, close bracket, who can do this. Nobody else even close. Question is timing. I feel like now is a good time as any. Given President of the United States directive to reopen shipping lanes, I think we should go. But President of the United States still retains 24 hours of decision space. Okay, then they talk about some more stuff which is not very interesting. So, it's some point here. Oh, this guy, SM. I don't know who that is. This is interesting. And then Pete Hetzeg agrees with this, but this is like the most weird part to me. This is like mafia stuff. So, SM, responding to that message I just read from Pete Hetzeg. As I heard it, the president was clear, green light, but we should soon make clear to Egypt and Europe that what we expect in return. And we also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. E.g., if Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. So it's basically mafia shit.
Yeah.
Because before they were arguing, hey, this is actually in our best interest, and now they're reframing it like, yeah, we're going to do this. We need to get shit for this. Like, Europe needs to pay us. And if they don't pay us, we need to twist their arm into giving us stuff.
Yeah.
So that was like, if I was a European reading these, that was what would piss me off the most.
Yeah.
Then Pete Hetzeg goes, agree. So then Pete Hetzeg, he then goes like, team update. These are military plans. So the journalist didn't originally leak everything. He didn't leak these originally, but Pete Hetzeg went on like news site, like platforms, like there were no military plans leaked, or maybe he didn't go on news platforms, but they asked him about it on camera, and he's like, no military plans were leaked. That's what I'll say. Here we have the military plans. I'll read them because then the journalists released them all, or maybe not all. Who knows what else was in there?
You sent me that one and the one the tattoo guy had earlier. Those are the ones you sent me. I read those ones. We'll read it for the podcast.
In
listeners.
case you guys haven't heard this, so this is the update. Team update. Everybody, team. We're all in the group chat now. Time now. This must be some military time thing. It's 1,144 ET. So I guess that's, I don't know what that means. 11:44 Eastern time. I guess. Weather is capital favorable. Just capital confirmed with central communication. We are capital go for mission launch. Then we have 12:15 Eastern time. F-18s launch first strike package. Then 13:45 quote trigger based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location. He should be on time. Also, strike drones launch. MQ-9S. Don't know what that means. 14:10. More F-18s launch. Second strike package. 14:15. Second drones on target. Capital. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop, pending earlier trigger-based targets. 15:36. F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawk launch. Then JD Vance goes, I will pray for victory. And two people give it like the prayer emoji.
That's crazy.
Then Michael Waltz, who added the journalist, Michael Waltz set disappearing message time to 4 weeks. Like, maybe this is an inside job, dude, because this guy Michael Waltz is just dropping the bag all over this. Okay, then Michael Waltz, our boy, VP building collapsed. Had multiple positive ID, Pete, Gorilla, and IC. Amazing job. JD Vance goes, what? Michael Waltz, typing too fast. The first target, their top missile guy. We had positive ID of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and it's now collapsed.
Oh, jeez.
So there's probably a lot of people dead there.
Yeah,
Innocent people. VP responds, excellent.
That's
then
crazy.
then Mar, I don't know who that is or what agency that is.
Excellent is such a
Yeah, no,
villain.
good
way.
job, Pete, and your
Excellent. He's
team.
probably rubbing his hands together.
Good job, Pete, and your team. Double exclamation point. Michael Waltz, our boy who led us into this group chat. The team in Mall did a great job as well. SM, great work, powerful start. Pete Hetzek, central communication was/is on point. Great job all. More strikes ongoing for hours tonight, and we'll provide full intel report tomorrow. But on time, on target, and good readouts so far. Then we have Susie. Susie, I don't know what her last name is. Is that like, I don't know who that is. Kudos to all. Most particularly those in theater and central command, or central communication or whatever, CENTCOM. Really great. God bless. Then we have Steve Witkoff, prayer emoji, flexing emoji, America flag is all he said.
It's
That,
so weird.
that
man.
might be all he said the whole in the whole chat. Then we have this TG, great work and efforts. Everyone's just jacking each other off.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Crazy.
How many people are in that chat?
1, 2, 3.
19 members. It says there.
Yeah.
That's so weird, man. You know what's interesting though?
What?
I think it's interesting that, in a way, this made it so that their concerns weren't necessary, because nobody talked about those strikes at all. It was the only thing people talked about, at least from what I can remember, was the fact that the military intelligence was leaked and their signal chat was leaked. Like the stupidity involved with the people that were part of that chat, but I didn't hear anybody talk about the actual strikes.
Okay. Is there an implication there?
There's no implication. I just think it's interesting the way it kind of reflects on, like, the people in the US were more concerned with the fact that there was incompetence within the structure than the fact that they did a bombing, like, strike and lots of people were killed.
Yeah. I mean, that's par for the course. Like every
very
administration,
common,
Democrat or Republican,
Yeah.
kill a bunch of people and
Yeah,
all these.
yeah. I mean, but during Obama's, there was like more drone strikes than any other, which I don't know how good a stat that is though, because when were drones created? Like, when was drone strikes a thing?
Good point. I don't
Because
know.
I always hear that, like, during the Obama administration, more drone strikes than any other, but when were drone strikes really, like, made? But yeah, let's look that up. First drone strike, November 3rd, 2002. First recorded targeting drone strike.
So-
And Obama came in 2008.
So this was.
So it would have been
What's
Bush.
no, it wouldn't have been Bush. It would have been what was his name before Bush? He played the saxophone.
I have no idea.
Come on, man. His wife tried to become president. Clinton.
Oh, Bill Clinton.
Wasn't he president in 2002?
I don't know. U.S. President 2002.
The guy who can play the saxophone.
George W.
Oh,
Bush.
it's George W. Bush.
Because he had 2 terms, didn't he?
Oh, for some reason, that's crazy.
Or maybe he didn't have 2 terms.
Oh, I got the timeline confused.
No,
yeah.
he was president from 2001 to 2009.
Yeah.
And then 2009, Obama came into office.
Yeah, that makes
So, yeah,
sense because
so
when
Obama had-
9/11 happened, he was only president like 8 months.
So more drone strikes than any other presidency, being Obama's presidency. It's just 2 presidencies.
Yeah.
And then you have to consider Biden and Trump now, of course. But I don't know what it looks like if you consider all 4.
Have you seen George Bush talk at 9/11?
No,
It actually is like a great.
it's crazy.
It's a great moment.
Really?
Yeah, like it is. Like unironically, if you're American, you should watch George Bush talk. Can we watch it? It's a minute 54 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me raise the volume and we'll watch it. It's actually like pretty interesting. Oh fuck!
Oh my god.
Oh my god, dude.
I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here.
To give context real quickly, he's at like or near ground zero and he's on like some kind of destroyed vehicle with like the chief firefighter in New York, some important man.
Yeah.
Like this is like the same day.
Yeah.
For the workers who work here, for the families who mourn, this nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon. The nation sends its love and compassion to everybody who is here. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for making the nation proud. And may God bless America.
Yeah.
That's
I
his
mean-
only crazy speech I've ever seen.
It's like I'm not even American, and I hear that and I go, yeah. It's actually like a really powerful moment.
But he's not an idiot.
No,
He
especially
just
he went to
acts
Harvard.
like one.
He went
Yeah,
to
he
Harvard.
just acts like an idiot.
And like we don't even have the full context. Like I bet
Yeah.
being there was in. I mean, obviously you're at fucking
probably
ground zero
intense,
on
yeah,
9/11
yeah.
is pretty you know.
Intense.
But like we don't even have the full picture of him on this destroyed vehicle. Like if you're American, you should definitely watch this.
Even considering that, though, he looks so nonchalant while he's saying all that.
He's only 8 months into his around 8 months into his presidency here.
That doesn't make sense.
Why?
Oh no, it does make sense.
9/11
Never mind.
happened in
Yeah.
2001,
No, you're
yeah.
right. You're right.
Like people
Yeah.
didn't really know what to think of him before this.
Yeah.
The craziest shit with George Bush though is like he said something. I can't find the clip anymore, but I think it was Iraq, and he's like, I had a dream, and in my dream I spoke to Jesus or something, and he's like, and he told me that there's a new axis of evil, and he named some countries in that region of the world, and he's like, we gotta go to war, and I'm like,
shit.
holy fuck, dude, like, okay,
That's crazy.
I mean, like, yeah, that's why I don't really not a biggest fan of religion and politics, because
Yeah.
you could convince people a lot of shit if you just say Jesus told me in a dream.
Yeah.
People go like, yeah, all right,
Yeah.
facts. But this is like an incredible moment. I don't know what made me think of this. I don't know. I don't even remember what we were talking about before.
I can't remember either. The speech was so rousing.
Yeah, like
I don't know if
arousing.
I'm using that word.
Yeah,
correctly,
dude, I
but-
don't know.
A rousing speech.
yeah,
but
yeah.
It's not sexual.
You got a rise out of it. But it was a very powerful moment.
we were talking about drone strikes.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. How many drone strikes were in Trump's first term?
For every president.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yep.
Oh, so this is talking about Trump's first term under Donald Trump, who's the president, the 44th and 46th president.
I don't know.
You should know, man. He's the fucking president. Under Donald Trump, drone strikes far exceed Obama's numbers.
Is that only within his first term
I
compared
believe
to
so.
Obama's two?
Yeah, brother. This is 2019.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Let's see, go down a little
Wait,
bit.
how is this?
What is the
2000?
number?
Wait, how is this 2019? Oh, because Donald Trump won in 2016. Wow, that seems so long ago.
Yeah,
now.
it does.
Wow,
Ooh,
that's
scroll
so
scroll
long
down.
ago.
Let's see. How many did he actually do?
The Trump administration has carried out 176 strikes in Yemen in just 2 years, compared to 154 during all 8 years of
Holy
Obama's
heck.
tenure. So who knows how many he did throughout the whole thing? They're probably smoking drones. Like,
Yeah, no, that's crazy. It's a lot of drone strikes.
that's the future of warfare. Have you seen
But-
China's videos where they have the
Yeah,
drones
yeah.
doing ballet in the sky?
My dad says that's a bunch of nonsense
Oh, okay.
because he says
Because
it's
his
not-
extensive experience in the military.
Well,
I
no,
like.
he's obsessed with the Ukraine war. He's
okay.
constantly researching it
Yeah.
and looking at it and stuff like that. But he says that is not really an accurate representation of their military.
Yeah.
It's because they've been able to do that forever, basically, essentially. And so it's just like sort of a propaganda thing. I don't know
Okay.
whether that's true or not. I'm sure he would explain it better than I would because I'm not like as locked in about the Ukraine war as he is. I mean, he's constantly looking at it because he sees it as an extension for the freedom of the rest of the world.
Yeah, which is fair. Well,
So he thinks that Ukraine is fighting for the freedom of the rest of the world because he thinks that Russia wouldn't stop at just Ukraine, and it would force us into like a World War III type situation. So for him, they're not just fighting for their freedom; they're also fighting for us not to have to go to war.
yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Yeah. So
Very-
that's his take on it.
They've been building up since 2014, like their Arctic bases.
Russia?
And you know, like I know when you look at the map of the world, they look like they're on the other side, but they're just above
No, they're
us.
close. They're super close. Yeah.
They're just above us, and they're just like to the left.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, literally. You look at a globe and it's a
yeah.
little
If you look at
different
a
than looking
globe
at
and
a
you just
map.
move it a little bit, you're like,
Yeah.
oh fuck.
Yeah, that's
They're
close.
like
man.
right there.
Yeah.
And they're putting the military like right there.
Yeah, yeah.
In
Well, that's why we're putting one new military base up north.
You know, the one thing I don't like about, I don't know what the conservatives are doing with the military. When they did the poll, they're like, tell us what you want to hear about. I was like, hey man, tell me about your military plan. Because, like, I don't know if Carney changed it, but when he was running to be leader of the Liberals, the statistic I heard was 2% by 2032.
They both said that they want to increase military spending.
Yeah, but Carney, didn't he say 2% by 2030 or 2032?
I don't know. I have no idea. I can't remember.
But I think if he said 2% by 2032, that's not good enough, man.
What did Poilievre say?
I don't know. His policies aren't like written down on the thing. I don't
yeah.
know what he said.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Who knows what he said? Like,
2030, I would agree. That's too long. But it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. How
that's
do you
what he
shift?
said. He's like, there's not a smart. We can do it in a dumb way. We can do it in a smart way. But I'm like, why can't we do it in like kind of a dumb way then? Like, let's do it in a bit of a dumb way because.
Well, I guess the problem is that the economy's so, like, the world's kind of volatile right now economically because of Trump's tariffs.
Yeah.
So maybe he's saying, okay, if we were just to put 2% in all of a sudden,
What's the benefit you get as a Canadian that you're willing to give up?
I don't know. It's hard to allocate what benefits I get to the government, and which ones I don't. Like, I'm not going to give up free health care.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I'm not going to give out free health.
I think public transport is very, very important for people just in general to, like, if they want to work.
Okay,
I think it's a very
public-
valuable service.
Public transportation. Okay, what else? What can we willing to give up?
Infrastructure is really important as well, I think.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Right?
There must be something we get
Um,
that we can do without.
I don't know. I just don't know the full scope of things that the government does in order to pick and choose. I just know the really important ones because they're important. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So the really important ones I know are not ones I would be willing to give up. It would have to be something to do with like the arts and stuff like that. Things that we enjoy but that aren't necessarily necessary.
What if we
But I
partly
don't like the thought of giving
defund-
up those either.
What if we partly defund our arts programs,
Yeah.
right? We can take that money and buy like
But I mean,
shotguns.
the
and-
question goes. The question goes: how much money are we really putting into it? Would it really be enough? You know what I mean? Would it really be
Okay.
enough?
If you're in an arts program, you get loans, and you don't get grants. What do you think? Based? Probably not going to be a good idea.
Why don't we just take all of
Why
Elon
does it
Musk's
have to
money?
go right? I
and
don't
just
think
put
you
it
can
right in-
just. I don't think you can just take all of Elon
Yeah, I
Musk's
know.
money because who's going to want to bring money into
No,
Canada?
no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
My friend Riva told me that essentially part of our retaliatory tariffs are something with vehicles, but her interpretation was like essentially based on the criteria we outlined, it's only going to affect Tesla.
Yeah, I think people were really like the people in the government were really mad when he basically robbed the government a month ago.
But I think that we might be misunderstanding what happened. You're talking about like all those
It was like $45 million or something crazy.
for the rebates.
Yeah.
I don't know if he.
They gave him a bunch of money. He had the expectation was that he was going to do sales or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But
In Canada,
yeah, he did something sneaky in Canada, and then
I
just
think
left,
you might be referring to the rebate thing.
possibly.
But I don't know if that's sneaky or if it's just weird timing or maybe they got inside information or it was a coincidence.
Well, let's look it up.
Well, I don't even know what to look up because
Well, let me look it up. You continue talking,
About?
and I'll look it up. I don't know.
I discovered jam today.
That's a good topic.
Yeah. Those pastries they were giving out for the people who are so cool and they're gonna go overseas. They're going to war. We're sending them to fight. I see like more military ads.
Okay, here it is. This is from Fortune. Canada is launching an maybe I should just open the whole article. Yeah, it was a subsidy. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was the rebate.
So Canada is launching an investigation into whether Tesla unlawfully gained business by securing 43 million, because they they pretended to have sales when they didn't.
When? In what year?
This year. By securing 43 million Canadian dollars in government subsidies for its customers, freezing the disbursement of funds until the matter has been resolved. In January, 4 showrooms in 3 major cities managed to sell 8,600 cars in the span of just a weekend.
Yeah, but
Following news that the country would no longer help fund part of the purchase price for a new electric car under its iZEV program. So the program changed, and all of a sudden they sell 8,600
so what are they
cars.
doing? Are they freezing his assets in Canada? Or
They
just-
froze the subsidy, I think. While a spike was to be expected and Tesla orders are typically filed online rather than at a physical store, that nonetheless works out to 2 cars sold every minute of every hour for 3 days straight. Moreover, according to Quebec-based Motor Illustrated, Tesla accounted for 89% of all claims filed during that period. No payments will be made until we are confident that the claims are valid,
So that could be
said
fraud.
the Transport
I want to
Minister
provide
Christopher Freeland
a
in a
possible
statement.
defense.
Yeah.
It could be that people were buying those vehicles and they just only input the data for the subsidies at the end of the month.
This was at the same time as everybody was pissed off about Elon. Like this is the same time as the stock price was plummeting.
Like the
basically.
beginning of that or the middle of that or
Let's see.
if
here.
it was just the beginning, it seems like maybe some of it might be fudged, but I'm trying to provide.
But they said that they sold those cars within 3 days. They didn't say we sold these cars throughout the year. They said in these 3
Oh.
days we sold 8,600 cars.
Oh, okay. Well, that's yeah. All right, fair, Ryan. Fair, Ryan. Miron, maybe they did. So, how many cars per hour?
One every 2 minutes per showroom.
Yeah, maybe.
And they
bro.
had 4 showrooms.
You ever seen
or
Tesla?
4 stores.
They sell themselves.
Yeah, they sell themselves. And
Dude,
then they
the-
get lit on fire.
If you see, is it you who sent me the video of the guy who slammed the Cybertruck door
Yeah,
and he just
yeah.
fucking ripped it off? I'm
the
like,
whole thing falls apart.
I'm like, what the fuck, bro? You could just rip this door off?
Supposedly they did a recall because people have been driving the Cybertruck and the paneling has been getting pulled off.
But
and
you know
thrown into
what?
other people's
There's
cars.
no fucking way that those trucks are gonna survive a Canadian winter. There's no way. Because water must get in there and then it freezes. It's gonna fuck everything up, man.
Well, yeah. Well, I wasn't saying they're good.
But I mean,
the
like, how-
paneling is coming. They had to recall them
But
off
how
because
are
on the
they
highway
even-
the paneling is flying off and smashing into other people's cars.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah. If you look at what's underneath, it's just like a plastic.
Yeah,
clip.
it's just like plastic clips.
It's hilarious. It's
The
like
guy just rips the door off.
it's like Velcro.
And I'm like,
Velcro for cars.
You're
Like, it's-
supposed to be, a car is supposed to be like you're a little bit secure in a car, and this
Yeah.
dude just rips his door off. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
rips the whole thing off. Like, it's crazy. He slams it once, it gets stuck, and when he opens it, the whole thing falls apart. It's like, oh my god. Now, obviously, it's a video, so who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
it's faked, but I
I've never
believe
seen
it.
anybody do that with, like, I don't know, Honda.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this should be the end of our our podcast.
Yeah, we can go an
Hour
hour
33.
32 minutes.
Got some stuff to do. This has been the Mostly Nonsense podcast.
We
Thank you
talked
for
mo-
listening.
yeah. Okay,
We'll
thanks.
talk again. Anything you want to say? Any last words before we get out of here?
Happy Liberation Day.
Happy Liberation Day. Good luck going forward.
Okay, all right. Hey, oh yeah, interest rates are rising. Probably gonna lose your job.
Yeah.
Who needs that?
Yeah. Who needs that?
All right,
That was useless, anyways.
I'm going in front of the liquor store. All right, bye.